Welcome everybody and thank you for joining me. So for those who might be finding this channel for the first time, I do weekly Xbox news videos where I go over everything that happened in the land of Xbox. Once a week I like to do a roundup video where I just go over everything that was discussed. These videos are normally in a longer format than my usual Xbox news videos and they are meant to be more of a discussion. Now the topic of last week's video was Minecraft and ray tracing, where I went through everything that you need to know about ray tracing and Minecraft, be that on the console, on PC, or the upcoming Xbox event on the 20th of April that has Minecraft and ray tracing as an agenda point. I understand that not everyone has the time to sit in to listen to those longer format videos, so I also break them down into smaller highlight videos. So if you enjoyed this specific highlight, please feel free to check out the full video. Ray tracing on the Xbox Series X, because that is where most people have the most questions, including myself. Now there is a lot of things floating around regarding this feature on console, and honestly there is not too much information regarding ray tracing and when it comes to the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S console. The only piece of information that we have received so far regarding ray tracing on Xbox was the tech demo that they released for the Xbox Series X. Now with this tech demo, they just went through everything and how it looks on Xbox and showed more or less what the vision and their plans are, but beyond that they just been completely silent on this whole thing. So this begs the question, what is going on and when will we actually see ray tracing for consoles? Now there is a couple of reasons why we have not seen it yet. First of all, as I explained earlier, it takes a lot of time. It is not a simple task by any stretch of the imagination. Many people, including myself, thought because it is Minecraft it should just actually be much faster. Sometimes due to the nature of the style of the game, people just think that the game is not that graphically demanding, and that cannot be further from the truth. Minecraft is extremely demanding on your computer even without ray tracing. Let's just take ray tracing for a second here without Minecraft. Ray tracing in any game is extremely demanding. The amount of rays that it takes to light up your world can probably be so demanding on your PC that oftentimes you have to sacrifice more than half of your frame rates to the point where it almost become unplayable and you have to drop down to a lower resolution. Even with the new RTX graphics card, it sometimes still isn't enough. Almost none of the cards available currently can play AAA games at 4K 60 frames with ray tracing enabled. So the point here is that it is extremely demanding on any graphics card. Now it is not all doom and gloom, because there is a workaround for this, and that workaround is called DLSS. Now what is DLSS, you ask? Well, DLSS is a technology used by Nvidia to render games at lower resolutions, then use artificial intelligence and machine learning to upscale the frames of the games to a higher resolution. This allows PCs with compatible GPUs running games to take advantage of the tech to hit higher resolutions and frame rates than usual, even when resource intensive effects like ray tracing are enabled, and that is a quote directly from Game Radar. So what is the problem here? Well, the problem is that DLSS is made by Nvidia for Nvidia. The Xbox consoles is powered by AMD. Now I am going to start a completely new war here with this statement, but whether we want to admit it or not, AMD is behind Nvidia when it comes to ray tracing. However, that gap is closing every single day, but I think by this point you are starting to see where I am going with this whole thing. Because ray tracing is so demanding on the hardware, it is difficult to run the game without making huge sacrifices. So to get around this, DLSS was created, however that is just for Nvidia. Now AMD does support ray tracing and so does the Xbox, but the feature is still extremely demanding. Combine that demanding feature with Minecraft, a demanding block game, and you will probably be playing at 3 frames per second. Now fun fact about frame rates by the way, but frame drops is one of the reasons why consoles lock their frame rates. On PC, if you experience a frame drop, you can just go into your settings and just make a few adjustments, but on console you don't really have that option, so they just decide to lock it. But back to the original point, AMD does not have DLSS for their cards, so ray tracing is much more demanding demanding for them. Now that won't be the case for too much longer because they are actually working on a solution, and that solution is called Fidelity FX. Now AMD's Fidelity FX is an open source image quality toolkit comprising of 7 different solutions available for developers to implement their games that are optimized for AMD's RDNA and RDNA 2 architectures. Now Fidelity FX helps deliver the ultimate visual quality with minimal performance overhead, freeing up your graphics card to power the intensive gaming experiences you demand. Now this is important context because this feature will be on console as well, and when this feature is made available on console, that is when I believe we will finally be seeing Minecraft with ray tracing. Now first and foremost, with Fidelity FX you have the contrast adaptive sharpening. Now the contrast adaptive sharpening helps to increase the visual quality by enabling the stunning visuals and sharpness with the optimal upscaling to restore the detail loss after the TAA or the temporal anti-aliasing is applied. And then they also have the Fidelity ambient occlusion, and this just gives a more realistic geometry shading. So AMD RDNA architecture optimized combined adaptive compute ambient occlusion dynamically, and this effectively helped to improve the appearance of objects based on the exposure to the ambient light. And then you also have the variable shading, the screen space reflections for high quality realistic reflections, the denoiser, which is the high quality ray tracing and the effects thereof, which is actually going to be covered at the upcoming Xbox event on the 20th. And then lastly you also have HDR mapper, which is just high quality gaming. So why does all of that matter? Well, that is the work that needs to be done in order for ray tracing to work on the console, and without these features working together, ray tracing will just simply be too demanding, especially on console, even more so for a game like Minecraft, which can be extremely demanding on your GPU. But now we have reached the conclusion, and there is still one big question that remains: when will we actually be seeing ray tracing on the console? Well, let me just quickly point you to an update that is coming, and it's with this update that I believe we will be seeing ray tracing on the console. So in the summer of 2021 there will be a big update. This update is called the Cave and the Cliffs update, and with this Caves and Cliffs update they will include a bunch of different things, too many things that I can't go over here, but the most important part is it is with this update that most people believe we will be seeing ray tracing on the console finally. So that is the official prediction by many insiders, so I'm just going to call my shot here. I've done extensive research and I've gone over all of the statements. I've listened to all of the insiders, and most of them agree that this is just when we are going to see ray tracing on the console for Minecraft finally. There is no concrete evidence for this, like I said in the beginning of this video. I do not actually know, but based on the information that was provided to me, I think that is more or less when we will be seeing ray tracing on the Xbox Series X in the summer of 2021. Again, I'm only going based off of the information that was provided to me, but on that note, this is where I'm going to end it, so thank you very much for watching.